Today we're looking at the Battle of Shiloh. Hello, welcome to the Daily Bellringer. Please don't forget to subscribe and take a look at the questions down in the description. Also, don't forget to check out dailybellringer.com for resources that go with many of the Bellringer videos. In early 1862, things were not going well for the Union. They were suffering setbacks and not making much progress in the eastern theater of the war, pushing towards Richmond. Meanwhile, in the western theater, the Union had found success thanks to a relatively unknown commander who was leading troops to victory. Ulysses S. Grant had started the war really unknown. He was working in his father-in-law's leather shop in Galena, Illinois, but he did have a West Point education, so he enlisted first as a colonel, but was quickly promoted to a general and took command of what became known as the Army of the Tennessee. In February 1862, Grant captured strategic positions along the Cumberland River and Tennessee River at Fort Henry and Fort Donelson, gaining the nickname Unconditional Surrender Grant in the process. This now opened Tennessee to Union invasion and made way for Union troops to push deeper into the South. Grant and his army now set their sights on a new target, the Confederate Railroad hub in Corinth, Mississippi, where two major railroads crossed, and capturing it would significantly hurt the Confederates' ability to move war materials and their entire war effort. By early 1862, Grant and his Army of Tennessee, numbering approximately 40,000, camped on the banks of the Tennessee River, awaiting reinforcements. They camped about 20 miles north of Corinth near a small church called Shiloh, which ironically is a Hebrew word meaning place of peace. Confederate General Albert Sidney Johnston, the overall commander of the Western Department for the Confederacy, realized Grant was moving towards Corinth and decided to launch a surprise attack on the Union camp to stop them. Before 6 a.m. on the morning of April 6, 1862, Johnston and the Confederate force, numbering near 45,000, launched their attack. Here at the south end of the battlefield at Fraley Field, the battle began, and quickly sleeping Union troops in the camp were awoken by Confederates storming the camp. Many charging Confederates stopped and began eating breakfast that some of the Union troops had started to prepare. The Union troops slowly organized and began attempting to hold their ground, but the Confederates kept coming on, pushing the Northern troops towards the Tennessee River. All appeared to be lost for the Union Army, except for one small area in the center of the battlefield. Soldiers from Iowa and Illinois had been ordered to hold this position at all costs, while other Union troops organized. This area of the battlefield became known as the Hornet's Nest, as Confederates charged again and again and again at the troops here, but could not break through. The Confederate commander Albert Sidney Johnston led the final charge at the Hornet's Nest and was shot down and killed. He was the highest ranking commander on either side of the war to be killed in battle. The Hornet's Nest was eventually captured by the Confederates, but it had slowed their advance long enough for Grant to reorganize his army. With Johnston now dead, command of the Confederates passed to P.G.T. Beauregard, and if you recall, he was the commander who had ordered the first shot at Fort Sumter. On the evening of April 6, Beauregard sent a telegram to Confederate President Jefferson Davis informing him that the Union troops were on the run and he would have full victory the following day. However, Beauregard was unaware that Union reinforcements, the Army of the Ohio under General Don Carlos Buell, were on their way and arrived here at Pittsburgh Landing on steamboats to reinforce Grant's army. By the next morning of April 7th, Grant had more troops and began his counterattack on the Confederates. With new fresh troops, the Union charged into the Confederate lines. One Confederate was noted as saying the Union troops were like mushrooms popping out of the ground, as the day before they had virtually destroyed them, but now they had seemingly multiplied. Confederates were pushed back over ground they had just gained the day before in battle. Beauregard and the Confederates could not withstand this new onslaught, and by the late afternoon of April 7th, the Confederates retreated from the field. In total, there were around 65,000 Union troops involved once reinforcements arrived, and about 45,000 Confederates in the battle. That is a battle with over 110,000 troops fighting, so an absolutely massive engagement. Although this was a major victory for the Union, it came with a terrible cost. For the Union, there were over 13,000 casualties, killed, wounded, or missing. For the Confederates, nearly 11,000, for a total of 24,000 casualties. At the time, this was the bloodiest battle in American history. Compare that to the First Battle Battle of Bull Run with barely 5,000 casualties. This battle truly shocked the nation. In late May of 1862, Corinth, Mississippi would fall to the Union forces. So the overall outcomes of Shiloh: the Confederacy lost their key western railroad hub. They also lost a key leader in Albert Sidney Johnston, and Ulysses S. Grant now became a far more prominent commander and would continue to prove his value to the Union in the coming years as he pushed to take control of the Mississippi River. So with that, hopefully you learned something, and thanks for watching.